This video is the third installment in a series about my exploration into the origins of the species we identify as gray aliens, as guided by them. In this video, Hal the Elder shared with me where they are from. I was shown the dimensional home of her species, an alternate Earth dimension in the future. The description of their origins is incredibly complex for humans to understand, but I do my best to break it down to make it digestible. After learning about the entity's close proximity to humans, I researched Jacques Vallée's books Dimensions. I found plenty of fascinating corroborations, which I share in the video. The gray alien picture keeps getting bigger. So today's presentation could be considered a third installment in a series of videos which are put under a playlist on my channel titled Discovering the Origins of the Phenomenon. I haven't received direct information from the Elder on this topic, unlike when she showed me her home planet. Yet I have discovered new information that the Elder is encouraging as accurate. As a result, things have progressed with revelations that are important to relay. This new information fills in gaps in the picture that I have, and that I think we all have for those of us who investigate the phenomenon. It actually creates a complete picture, which is why I think it's so important. Two questions have dominated my thoughts about this phenomenon, with its personal involvement with me, yet both are also large questions about its involvement with humanity. Question 1. What is the connection between an early human-alien hybrid race on Earth and the entities collecting genetics and building hybrids in the present? Something I've discussed in previous videos is that I can feel the gray alien gene intuitively with those who have the Celtic or Irish ancestry. For me, there is no doubt early human-alien hybrids. But what's the link between this past evidence and their current behavior? They gave me a framework in my book, in my story, which I believe to be real, but may have been only half of the picture. There might have been a larger reason for their presence on Earth, which wasn't fully clear until I gained this new information, though hinted at in my story, but not fully explained, of which I'll get into. The second question: what is the connection with a physical species that exists in a paranormal dimension? We are undoubtedly dealing with a physical species. People have seen and witnessed physical UFOs and aliens. UFO landings leave imprints on the ground. There have been UFO crashes where bodies have been seen and recovered. And there have been documented physical effects on human bodies from contact. However, the paranormal element has long been experienced by contactees, including Jim Sparks, Carla Turner, and Whitley Strieber, just to name a few. These entities can act like poltergeists, have been witnessed floating and moving through walls, and even transform into orbs. When my memories of alien contact surfaced, I immediately noticed the paranormal nature of the UAP sightings. They seemed to connect with my thoughts or know the area of the sky I was looking at. Never mind the plethora of paranormal and poltergeist like experiences I was having. From floating angel hair to odd knocks, objects disappearing and reappearing in the same place, and doors mysteriously opening. By the way, the paranormal behavior was always benevolent. It never displayed itself with an intention to scare me, but all appeared as a means of communication. I was so startled by this paranormal connection with the phenomenon that I decided to create a video titled My Gray Alien Communicates Through Paranormal Activity. I believe the connection between a phenomenon that is a physical species that behaves in a paranormal fashion has largely remained misunderstood, but today's video provides a plausible explanation. Before I begin, I want to clarify that this new information doesn't contradict the picture they provide in my story. Instead, it fleshes out the background. It seems our present circumstances, as in the last several decades since the 1950s, may have changed the direction of their original plan set tens of thousands of years ago. I believe this new information, combined with what they told me in my story, now all fits together under one umbrella, all of which I'll get into. I believe the most fitting analogy for the information we're about to learn is a Neanderthal in New York Times Square witnessing all the human races for the first time. A Neanderthal, familiar only with his small tribe and perhaps another on the other side of the mountain, would be utterly astounded by the sheer diversity of mixed modern human races. Let's say he focuses on a single human race and wants to understand their origins. For him, delving into the thousands of years of history and geography that led to that specific individual's arrival in New York City would be overwhelming. He could dedicate his entire life to studying that one race and its history just to grasp how they got to New York City. Yet, throughout that entire time, the person he observes in New York City doesn't even identify with that history. They identify with who they are in the present moment. I believe we're dealing with something like this regarding the alien presence on Earth, a complex history straddling dimensions. Today, I'll be drawing a significant portion of my research from Alec Newell's book, Coevolution, the true story of a man taken for 10 days to an extraterrestrial civilization. This is because the information he was given seems to originate from the aliens I'm dealing with. He was told, "We basically come from your future, but for us, it is not as simple as that. For we also come from another dimension, not quite the one you will shift into, but close. So we are what you would call dimensional time travelers." It was described in a similar manner to the information I was given. Newell's aliens even refer to their dimension as a shadow. The crossovers are astounding, and I'll delve into all of them. For me, finding such a similar description in human books to what the aliens showed me firsthand isn't just a coincidence. It feels to me like the aliens are waving and saying, yes, this information is the same as yours. So his information, combined with my own, puts this next information into context. So, I've been putting out a series on my channel featuring the Mystic Book. I've been extracting the symbols that I saw associated with the Mystic Book, these shapes and lines, and I've been putting them into the video series. So I can't remember why I decided to look at this Reddit post one day. It is of a crop circle. I guess it could be said a crop formation, and it is extremely complex. It is formed in Wiltshire, UK, in a field of wheat in June 2009. It was actually a two-part crop formation, with one part appearing June 21st and the rest June 29th. Now, 2009 was one of the most prolific crop circle years on record, all in the same area in the UK. While the internet labels them hoaxes, I conducted some research and couldn't find any evidence supporting the claim that humans are responsible for the crop circles created in 2009. Not only that, skeptics should know crop circles cause significant damage, sometimes amounting to tens of thousands of dollars. I've yet to hear of anyone being charged for the 2009 spat of crop circles in Wiltshire. Not just that. I did find a report in 2009 of a police officer who witnessed aliens in a crop circle in Wiltshire on the morning of July 6th. I even found the police report online, obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, detailing the event. Even AI recognizes 2009 was anomalous with an increase in UFO sightings in Wiltshire that year, as reported by the UK Military of Defence. So the point is, NHI activity was high during the mysterious crop circle formations reported in the UK in 2009. So back to this specific crop formation. At first glance, when you look at this image, it's very complex, with all the patterns blending together. But for whatever reason, I began to analyze the details of the shapes and lines. As I stared at them, I saw an image in my mind's eye of my grandma. I felt like I was looking at something that was describing my genetic heritage to the aliens, the Celtic line. As I looked further down the line, I could see hunter gatherer societies and early human communities. I could see a story was being told. When I couldn't really understand what was happening, I began to notice striking similarities between the script and the Mystic Book script. Yes, I can read a crop formation. I've mentioned previously from a conversation I had with the Elder regarding reading the script in the Eighth Contact event. I'm not actually reading it, but it is interacting with the technology that's inside me. Now, I'm not trying to invent new concepts or coin new phrases. I'm only trying to best articulate my personal experience. My best articulation of being able to read this crop circle is a telepathic communication of linear information through a resonant body. Telepathic communication because I receive feeling and imagery from it. Linear information, the information requires interpretation in a sequential manner to be understood, and a resonant body. The whole body of information is its own resonance, and I must align with its resonance to comprehend the linear information. For example, the mystic book is a resonant body, and this crop circle or this crop formation is also a resonant body. It takes time to interpret because I'm not reading it like a book. These symbols project telepathic communication through the resonant body. For me, I need to align with that resonant body's vibration, and then to make sense of it, I require the linear flow of information. Without this, it's like reading a story halfway through a book. It doesn't make sense. But it is even more complex when dealing with this style of communication. It's for this reason it takes time to get the mystic book script out. I'm only halfway through extracting the symbols of the imagination section because of how long it takes for me. Never mind that I get focused on other things like this video series. So I have the general gist of what this crop formation is saying, but to get at the specifics, I have to spend lots of time on it. And I've also gotten confirmation in telepathy directly from UAP that yes, I am reading or interpreting this crop formation. So, what does it say? I'm convinced this right here, fellow humans, is the history of the human alien hybrids. The elder called it a window into the past. So, this is what I'm convinced it's saying. They are from some original home planet beyond our solar system. These small lines in between the longer line means they traveled here by bending space-time, by creating a portal. This could be translated as, if it's read or interpreted, it could be translated as a long, long time ago, we journeyed from our home planet, traversing the cosmos to. Then they first inhabited Mars. You can see here a planet with two moons, Phobos and Deimos. Then they inhabited the Earth's moon, the smaller circle, and then they inhabited the Earth, all in the shadow dimension. This shadow dimension is described in my previous videos as an alternate astral plane in the future in a parallel reality. From the shadow dimension emerged the human alien hybrids. I'm assuming this means they introduced alien DNA into an original human structure native to the planet. This structure could have been altered by other species, or even by them further in the past. I don't know. But the key point is that they put their DNA into 5 hybrid tribes. The elder explained this part to me. Each hybrid tribe was intentionally designed with varying degrees of spiritual density. This is not intended to be perceived as racist, but with an understanding that oversouls seek varying degrees of spiritual evolution throughout the birth and death life cycle. As mentioned in previous videos, oversouls pursue the opposite of what we are in order to evolve. A non dual part of us enters duality in order to evolve. This part is difficult to explain, but here's my best. The initial different tribes had different levels of paranormal capacity, or perhaps it could be described as electromagnetic activity which is tied to our bodies. The circles in the crop circle represent completion or access to the source, and or the ethereal, and different tribes had different capacities of its utilization. This is a quote from the elder in The Rising. We also have made the human bodies for your earth, for your souls to live in. And we did this a long time ago in an ancient era, she said with a specific telepathic impression of tens of thousands of years ago. We make life. This is what we do. And we understand the integration of spirit with biology. We are engineers for ways of living for souls. We understand how biology manifests specific spiritual perceptions, so souls can go into those bodies when they seek those type of experiences. We are the highest type of life engineers. These squares represent something legally binding, Perhaps a grand meeting or council was held to establish each tribe. I'm convinced the alien component of the alien human hybrid involved various alien species. Consequently, it seems to involve some form of law, dialogue, legal consent, or declaration. This is a quote from the Elder in the Rising. We form agreements with interdimensional beings to create bodies for nation faring planets and dimensional lands. This is what we have done with your home world. And then each line are the histories of each of the hybrid tribes. So what time frame are we looking at? I can't tell. But a line like this spans several thousands of years. It essentially states they lived in peace, and I can see imagery of communities engaged in farming alongside hunting and gathering. I'm convinced these cyclical patterns represent a rhythm of collective consciousness, each cycle lasting several thousands of years. The dot here, see the dot at the end of the line, represents a revolution or societal new idea. So I think the comparative example, just as an example, is the line, representing the Roman Empire. And then the dot representing someone like Julius Caesar, which was a revolution of ideas or a change of society. My guess is the entire length is 40 or 50,000 years of history of the ancient alien hybrid civilizations that lived on our planet. Notice how some of the lines intermingle. I'm also convinced the ends of the lines are the ends of the knowledge of their origins. The human race are the remnants of these civilizations. The problem with reading these lines and their descriptions of these civilizations is that what they looked like way back then is vastly different from what they look like now. It's too far back in time, and all the tribes have undergone significant changes. But I'm convinced a large portion of us are the remnants of these early hybrid tribes or civilizations. By the way, this is right in line with the words of the late Wilbert Smith, a Canadian government official who created Project Magnet, Transport Canada's UFO study program in the 1950s. He claimed to be in touch with aliens and called them the boys topside. He said, "Our civilization here on Earth now is only one of many that have come and gone. The planet has been colonized many times by people from elsewhere, and our present human races are blood brothers of these people. Is it any wonder that they are interested in us?" Notice how he used the term our present human races are blood brothers, multiple races. And that's what this crop formation is showing me here. So, just some interesting points. This complex history could explain why we sometimes have the entities providing different origins to different contactees. I've heard Mars, another star system, the moon, or that they claim to be us. All of it might be true. Also, I'm convinced this script, which is the same script as the Mystic Book, originates from the controller species, which I believe is involved in this entire situation. I'll talk a bit about what human races I think are the remnants of the alien hybrid tribes at the end of this video. I believe the entities peppered hints of them in my story. The aliens are storytellers and appear to love leaving pieces of the puzzle for us to figure out. So I'll talk about that at the end. Lastly, just to add, this is not the only crop formation I can read from Wiltshire in 2009. I can also read this one, which was created on June 27th, 2009. It appears to describe the history of their divine, feminine God AI. The first words that struck me were the supportive structure. This is a side-by-side comparison of the Federation object I encountered during my 7th contact event. It featured the God AI at the top. The crests are similar, and both have a central peak and an eye in the middle. It reminded me of the twins' words during my 10th contact event. This is our creator. This is God. And just a connection I need to emphasize because this is the only place to talk about it in this presentation. The gray alien face on the June 27th crop formation is the same one on the June 29th crop formation. This is the face superimposed over the shadow realm of Earth. Here's an interesting connection. During the 10th contact event, I was shown a planet hologram where the gray mind will dominate. as our planet transitions to this new planet. It's the feeling of this face, but instead of it being superimposed over the shadow dimension like it is here, it's superimposed over our planet Earth in the near future. Okay, so I believe Alec Newell's information from his book Coevolution, combined with this crop formation and my own information, provides a complete picture of the origins of the alien presence on Earth. I'll be highlighting key passages. They originate from a home planet outside of our solar system. By the way, throughout the presentation's creation, I have been consistently connecting with the Elder. I don't want to be providing false information. I'm not providing anything on a whim either. I've been asking her for confirmation on the accuracy of the details of the information, and she said that's essentially the picture. So let's dive in. I'll start by emphasizing what I believe is the book's most crucial information. There was a time, you see, a long time ago, when a group of very restless people wanted more than they had. They were very intelligent for their age and evolutionary development. They soon mastered the art of space travel in its basic concept. That was easy for them, but they wanted more. They were also keen to master the art of time travel, but to master that art in the form they wanted required that they alter something about themselves. Indeed, this something was their actual physical makeup, their vibrational energy. This change would have come naturally with time had they waited for it, but these people were impatient in the extreme. They decided they would force the change artificially. What I'm saying here is they were about to force the pace of evolution synthetically, something that had possibly never been done before in the history of their universe. As it turned out, there were very good reasons why others had not attempted this feat. However, at that point in their development, they were confident in their wisdom that they could achieve this goal. As Zena's thoughts flowed through my mind, I could not help but feel that all of this sounded alarmingly familiar, not in subject matter, but rather in the bull at a gate type mentality exemplified on Earth by some of our nation's attitudes to nuclear testing. I would add to this social media and AI. The human collective creates things unconsciously, often without considering the full implications. It's interesting to wonder if this is what we are dealing with. Events were set in motion to achieve this goal. What they were trying to do was change their very reality, their plane of existence. They wanted to change from what you currently understand as a three-dimensional hard interface reality into the fourth or next higher dimension. This next reality is, in fact, only very slightly different from your own, but it is a softer, airier plane where objects can intermix more easily. There is not so much of your world's hardline boundaries, especially as far as body form is concerned. Also, time can be stretched more easily in this domain. By this, I mean that time travel is less harsh on biological entities and is achieved with fewer of the nastier side effects your people are about to have to contend with. That's why I made this video. I'm embedded with an idea that a physical transformation will have to occur to handle the dimensional state. Is this true or not? I don't know, but I'm embedded with it. And this line right here just validates it. These people knew all this before they attempted the conversion. Alas, premature conversion of non biological entities had side effects they had not foreseen and are paying for to this very day. As I mentioned before, these people were very advanced technically, and they did indeed succeed in transmuting themselves out of their three-dimensional reality. There was more to it than that, however, for they also needed a place to live, a planet that vibrated in a like resonance to themselves. It was not beyond them technically to alter their existing planet, and this is what they set about doing. To keep harmony and balance in their solar system, they decided that the sun would need to be subtly changed. But their wisdom was not so great as to realize the sum total of their effects upon their old system when they projected themselves out of it and into other realms of existence. They envisaged that just the shadow or non physical portion of their planet would be projected into this new domain. But this is not what ultimately happened. It is literally referred to as the shadow or non physical portion of their planet. Uncanny. We're definitely dealing with the same information here. Their main problem was that they did not quite get over to the fourth or next balanced dimension plane, at least not the one where natural evolution would have sent them. They became trapped in a halfway house. Call it dimension 3.5. They had now solved their time travel problems, but at what cost? They could not interact with other life forms as they used to, and they were now living in a world or density occupied by no one. For some reason, this meant that natural evolution passed them by. They stopped evolving and could only watch as other groups and races changed densities and evolved about them. That was bad enough, but worse was yet to come. So, one of the feelings of gray alien bodies to be in the presence of a gray alien, of the elder's body, remember I have this heightened somatic intuition, is that their DNA does feel, degraded, thinned out, worn out, aged, or used. It, it, it feels older and therefore thinner. It feels like it is older DNA. So this idea that in terms of physical evolution that they are stuck makes a lot of sense to me. The artificial change in the density level of their planet had somehow caused an imbalance in the rate of energy their sun was receiving from other sources. This in turn accelerated the sun's rate of decline, making it age faster than it should have. They were now trapped on their custom designed planet with a sun that was going out on them, and it appeared that there was nowhere for them to go. Then someone remembered a beautiful planet far off in a distant part of the cosmos, which they could access using their time travel technology. This planet was not yet in fourth dimensional resonance, but from their studies, they believed it was soon to become so. It was a planet whose people were not that far removed from themselves, thanks to their early explorers tinkering with genetics. Yes, they had traveled to that planet in the distant past. These two lines, as I mentioned, in between the longer line here, I feel represents their bending of space-time to travel here, essentially a portal. So they came up with a great plan. What if they could backtrack their evolutionary cycle just a little and retrace their steps? What if they could reintroduce into their population some of this original DNA? These genes were seeded upon that planet by ancient explorers who at that time had not gone through the dimensional changes that now dogged their race. These genetic blueprints were still carried by some of the natives on that special planet called Terra. If they could mix the old with the new and deprogram themselves in some way, then there was a chance they could survive on that planet long enough to be there when the expected evolutionary leap occurred. A leap that would take them where they wanted to go many long years before. I'm going to reread this. So they came up with a great plan. What if they could backtrack their evolutionary cycle just a little and retrace their steps? What if they could reintroduce into their population some of this original DNA? These genes were seeded upon that planet by ancient explorers who at that time had not gone through the dimensional changes that now dogged their race. Recall in this video, how does a 16-year-old see the afterlife and not know it? That my oversoul saw the future events as two timelines converging. You will know by now that this is my very own people I'm discussing here, Xena suggested. It is our dream, our goal, but we would need the help, understanding, and cooperation of your people before we can even hope to achieve it, Alec. This explanation aligns with my personal experience. I know I'm interacting with a genetic species that exists in a paranormal dimension, which is referred to here as Dimension 3.5. It also explains the presence of alien DNA on our planet while they are seeking it in the present. Mars. So I have my own reason to believe there is a Mars connection to the phenomenon. Every time I would do a deep dive on my 8th contact event, where I went to Venus, both times I did the regression, the first time I presented on it for Vancouver UFO, and then this last time building this video, I would have a flash of being on the surface of Mars. It's like a vision, as if I've been there, very detailed atmosphere and landscape. And the red orb I filmed back in 2020, the first UAP film I have, is hovering in the atmosphere. This detailed vision is definitely Mars. It feels like a brother slash sister planet to Earth or to the other planets within the inner solar system. Like I can really feel the connection. This always makes me have this this link or this vision always makes me have to triple check that I actually went to Venus in my eighth contact event. So, but when I do the deep dive, I triple check, right? And I do the deep dive, and there's no way to spin it. The elder says Venus. I fly there physically. I see it. There's no confusion. And even the landscape I witness on Venus is not the same site of landscape in this vision. So it feels like Mars is that vision, yet I know I definitely went to Venus. So I couldn't figure out what was going on and what this connection was. And so I left it. I just let it be. But when I heard people talk about Mars and aliens, my ears always perked up, but I never found anything that satisfied the connection with this vision. Until I realized it is this information that makes that vision make sense. It's coming from the elder, not like she is telling me in any capacity that she resides there now. It's coming from her telling me Mars is important to her. But that was it. Just a fleeting image of an orb on the surface of Mars. And it was consistent every time I opened the Venus contact event, the brother slash sisterhood of inner planets to our solar system. This is what Alec Newell says. Their original home was small by Earth standards. This much they know as fact, for they have always chosen planets smaller than Earth as way stations or outposts. In our own Earth's solar system, planets like Mars or even the Earth's present moon appealed because of their size, despite the Earth being far more luxuriant.